There was a study that followed 111 new gym goers over the course of 12 weeks. On average, it took 6 weeks to form a habit of going. Not necessarily staying, but just going to the gym. The two strongest predictors of what determined if they were going to go back to the gym was they wanted to, they intended to, and if they already had a habit of doing it. Those are the two strongest predictors of if they would go the next day. But interestingly, participants who exercised less than 4 times per week did not form a habit on average. So if they only went 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it didn't become a habit most of the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that seems frequent enough to build a habit.
It does.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This study was a 12-week study. It might build a habit, but it might have to be 52 weeks. It might be a year before you get a habit.
But potentially, with more frequency, less total time to build the habit.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Participants who worked 4 or greater, or exercised 4 or greater times per week, the habit was on average built 63.8% of the time. Whereas the less than 4 per week, the habit was built by a 12-week period, only 22% of the time.
So that's funny. So a lot of the advice that they'll give you to like start working out is they'll say, well, start small and then build. Maybe that's not.
Maybe start your work. Well, that's actually good advice depending on how you take it and how it's given, because we're going to get into what specifically the actions of the habit, the behavior of the habit. If it's more complex, it's going to be harder to form. If it's less complex, it's going to be easier to
make it easy.
So maybe start small, as in don't do a 2-hour long, 5 sets per exercise and 20 exercises.
We'll get into it, but reading through Atomic Habits, that was one of the I think exercise was one of the specific things they brought up.
Yeah, that's probably because that might be one of the most popular habit that people wish they had.
But I think it was about just tell yourself you're going to go to the gym for 5 minutes.
Right.
Now, what are you going to do in 5 minutes? Not a whole lot, but
but the point is, you need to master the art of showing up, because you're never going to get anywhere if you can't at least do that. That's the most important part.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll get to it. I can tell you, we've talked about this, you and I personally, I don't think on the podcast, but I am a master at overcomplicating habits that I want to form in myself.
Yeah. So the greatest predictors of forming the habit were consistency. That means date and time. So if you're doing Monday through Friday, the chances you're going to build the habit are much greater if you're going at the same point in the day every day versus if you go in the morning one day, evening next day, and just that intuitively makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but it's not time. It's not literally the time that is important. It's the point in the structure of your day that's important.
Well, I was just going to say that. It was just like, if I wake up and I say, before I go to work, I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But if I just say, I'm going to go to the gym at some point today, it's easier to kind of push off.
Yeah. But also, if you say, I'm going to go to the gym at 9 a.m., that doesn't, your brain doesn't care what time it is. Your brain cares at what point in the day you're in. So if you wake up, take a shower, wake up, brush your teeth, take a shower, eat, and then go to work, you could do that at shifting times in the day.
Yeah.
But if you slot going to the gym in between eating and going to work, the habit's going to form no matter if you wake up at 9 a.m. or if you wake up at noon.
Right.
So the literal time of day does not matter. The structure, the point in the structure of your day is what matters.
It's kind of like the chain of events.
Yes.
Yes. It's not about the time that you're going. It's about the fact that the habit you want to build is a part of a series of events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the consistency that matters, not the time that matters. So that was the strongest predictor of forming a habit, was consistency. The next strongest was low complexity. This is exactly what you were talking about. Start small.
Yeah.
The lower the complexity of the habit you're trying to form, the greater chance that it would form. So if you're trying to exercise, now that you can build this up.
Yeah.
Let's stick with exercise. If you're trying to exercise, not even just go to the gym. If you're trying to exercise, you might start as low complexity as possible by just saying, my habit is going to be stepping out the door and walking around my block once, which might be like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. But the low complexity means you don't really have to think about it that much, which means you're going to form it quicker or more likely.
You know what's crazy about when I was reading through Atomic Habits? There was a part where he talked about this thing about building a habit and using exercise as an example. He said, maybe you do just something like that where you just do something at home. And then the next thing you build up from is you just drive to the gym. You don't even go in necessarily, or maybe you step inside and then you leave.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to go.
But here's the thing. The reason is once you establish these little steps as a habit, it removes the cognitive load to then add more to it.
It's so difficult, right? It's so difficult. I know, because we used to do this, to bright and early, first thing in the ass crack of dawn, to get up out of bed and then go to the gym at, 6 o'clock in the morning?
We went at 5:30 in the morning.
At 5:30 in the morning?
Because I worked at 7.
But what if, just to ramp yourself up, you said, all right, I'm not, the mental load is not, I'm going to get up out of bed and then I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to give it my all in the gym. The mental load is, I got to get out of bed and I just got to drive to the gym real quick and then I can get on with my day.
Yeah.
It's so easy. But then once you do that, because that's not doing anything for you health-wise.
No.
But once you've done that.
We're done. We drive and then we're done.
Once you've done that, then you're outside the gym and you're just, this is just part of now your routine. Now it's just like, well, I could go in,
Right.
I could go in and knock out a set or two.
Yeah. You have to think low complexity. You have to not.
I think I might do that. I'm genuinely thinking, because I've been thinking forever. I'm like, man, I need really to get back in the gym. I actually love lifting.
Me too.
I love
really
lifting.
Want to go back.
You wouldn't tell it by looking at me, but I love lifting and I would love to get back in the gym, but I just can't. The gym that I'd probably go to Planet Fitness because it's just cheap, but it's literally less than a block away from my workplace. So I could just go there before work, but like I just can't get there. It's just, it might as well be a universal way.
Yeah. So the third greatest predictor after low complexity was a comfortable environment. Okay. This is what Planet Fitness markets their entire face of the brand off of this right here.
Yeah.
This is Planet Fitness's whole personality is comfortable environment.
That and affordability.
Affordability. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're going to the gym and you are constantly berated by people that, like, I don't know, this is not a realistic example because this never happens. But if you go to the gym and then everybody shits on you, chances are you're not going to build a habit of going to the gym. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Right.
And one part of that is by pairing this with low complexity. If you overcomplicate the habit you're trying to form, it will make it less comfortable when you're there. If you just, if the habit you're trying to build is go in and walk on the treadmill for 2 minutes, or go in and do one set of squats and like one set of push-ups or something, the low complexity compounds with the comfortable environment.
Yeah.
So that's another sort of compounding one that's good to keep in mind when you want to start a habit. And lastly, the next greatest predictor of habit formation was the positive affect. Does it make you feel good? Did you like it at the end?
Yeah.
Right. This is like what I said earlier. you just straight up aren't going to build a habit that has no beneficial value in itself.
Yeah.
Unless you make it beneficial by adding something else to it. So that was basically the science of how to get yourself to the gym. So there was a meta-analysis spanning 20 different studies and 2,600 participants across physical activity, diet, flossing, drinking, like all sorts of activities. The median habit formation range was 59 to 66 days. Okay. That was like if you were to line up all the amount of days in a line, the middle was 59 to 66.
Yeah.
The average was 106 to 154 days on but this is sort of, it's not really actionable data because of the wide span of actions that's being studied here. Because like I said, this is everything from as simple as brushing your teeth to going to the gym. So, but just know, of all the habits you might want to build, on average, it's going to be like 2 months to 4 months to really solidify it. So the higher the frequency, the stronger the habit. We knew this. So like we said earlier, the greater amount of times that people went to the gym, the greater the likelihood that it would become a habit. So more frequency, better for habit formation. The more consistent timing, the stronger the habit, which we also discovered earlier. Simpler habits like brushing teeth or drinking water showed more evidence of stronger habit formation than did more complex behaviors like exercise. Also kind of intuitive. Brushing your teeth is going to be easy to form a habit on, or taking a shower, than going to the gym. Having a positive affect or reward from the habit showed stronger development. Participants that were allowed to choose the behavior themselves rather than it being assigned tended toward greater automaticity. So if you don't actually, if the habit isn't something that you consciously choose to do yourself or want to do yourself, then there's a lesser likelihood that you're going to actually form a habit of doing it.
Yeah.
Which obviously makes sense. You're not going to form a habit of something you don't want to do. And the use of context and cues showed a slight support towards greater habit formation. So like this was context being the structure of your day, kind of. If as soon as you like are done eating your meal, that can be a cue to the next habit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, it's important to keep in mind that frequency is what builds the habit, not duration done. So the more you do the action, the faster you will build the habit. Now, this has its limits. You're not going to go to the gym 14 times in one day to turn it into a habit. Right. So that might be true of something else, right? Like, honestly, if you want to speed hack a habit, if it's something that isn't that relevant to the structure of your day, then maybe you can just like do the action over and over and over again in a short span of time to sort of race your way to the habit formation.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example of that, and I feel like it's almost coming to me, but it's not. Like
I think it would be in job contexts more often than a life context, because the structure of your day matters so much in like day-to-day life.
Yeah.
But if you're like if you're working at an ice cream sandwich factory and all you're doing is like cutting the edges off of overflowing ice cream on the sandwiches, you're probably going to build the habit, or like people that cut pizzas. My God, they get two things and they go, and then box it up in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably something that the habit builds mind-blowingly fast because they do it 100 times a day.
That happens a lot at my job too. They'll talk about, you need to get comfortable with something because there's some sort of audit coming up, or there's some sort of thing that I have to do at a specific interval, and they'll just be like, "Hey, leading up to this, get your reps in."
Yeah,
they'll say that
get your
happens a
reps
lot.
in. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Get your reps in But like we said, with a lot of habits that matter to the structure of your day, and you can't really speed hack it in terms of frequency.